Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dilmer again and welcome back to my channel. So first of all, thank you for joining my channel. I really appreciate your time. And I'm pretty excited today because I'm going to be talking about 3 different tips that I give indie game developers when working in a team. So the first one, and the one that I think is one of the most important one, is you got to work with a team because you got to use somebody else's skills. So the reason I say that is because I've been working as a solo developer for the last 6 years, and I've been doing everything on my own. And as many of you, when you started, if you started as a solo indie game developer, you realize that you can move very quickly, but there's some things that you know it would be better if you get somebody else to help you, because that's gonna basically accelerate your progress in your game. So that's the kind of thing that I'm noticing right now by having 2 other developers in my team. And not only I can give them some work to work on my on the programming side of the game, but I can also do a lot more on the strategy of the game. So one of the cool thing is that it's gonna give you, of course, it's gonna give you more time, but at the same time you gotta also be thinking about how you're gonna be managing 2 other people. So when you're looking for leveraging somebody else's skills, and if that is programming, if that is art, you gotta be thinking about how are you gonna be breaking out the project so that you're not always behind them and monitoring everything that they do, but you gotta make sure that you are organizing your project in a way that everything is detailed out to basically to the letter so that they can actually start working. And it all depends on what kind of level of developer do you get, or what kind of level of artist do you get, or a music person. So whenever you're doing that, make sure that you are organizing a project board, that you are creating all the different stories that are related to what you want them to work on, and be as detailed as you can, and make sure that you're strategize that before you have people join your team. Don't have people join your team without having a plan, because that's basically not gonna work. That's actually something that I did before, and it didn't actually work. Nowadays, what I do is I actually have a plan. I have a project plan. I know what areas I need help on. So when I was reaching these 2 other developers, I already knew what I wanted them to work on. So that's actually really helpful, and that's basically number one. And for number two, I always talk about this, and this is really important when working with a team. You want to make sure that you establish some kind of communication. So for me, I'm trying to use, I'm trying to communicate with them as much as you can. So if you have people that are working remotely, you can also communicate really well remotely with the tools that are available today. So we're using Slack for most of our communication. We also use Slack to basically put snippets of the code. We're using Slack to basically drop images. We're using Slack for a lot of things. And then for conferences, we're using Hangouts. So you want to make sure that you have at least 1 call a day with them. Or if you don't want to do a call, you can basically just do send them a message via Slack, just to see what things they're working on, what things they worked on before, and basically follow a methodology with them. So if you're used to doing agile, or you're used to doing any other kind of like Scrum, another methodology that you use, make sure that you follow the standard, because that's going to help you make sure that your team is motivated, make sure that your team is they know what they need to work on, or if there's any roadblocks that they might be experiencing but they don't want to tell you because they might be shy. So communicating with them on a daily basis is really helpful. The other thing that I do, actually I do this on Fridays, is I make sure that we always have a call. And that phone call, you have to have a phone call. Try not to do a message every day, but have a phone call at least once a week. And that's an opportunity just to to check how things are going, and basically talk and talk about how they're doing, as is their family doing okay. You want to make sure that you keep you want to keep a professional a kind of a communication with them, but at the same time you want to make sure that they know that you're there for them. So whenever you're talking to them, you want to make sure that you guys are talking about family, personal conversations about things that you're doing, or how the weekend is gonna go, because that's basically what's gonna get you guys together, and it's gonna basically create that bond that you need in your team. Because think about it, you're working in a team, and you're making, you're working on your baby, which is your indie game. And if you start adding other people to your team, you want them to care as much as you care about the game that you're building. So if you're building those relationships with them, you want them to be friends. And the better bond that you get with your team members, the more chances of you finishing that game and being successful in that game. So that has been my experience, is make sure that you're keeping communication with your team members. That's really, really helpful. And lastly, one thing that I talk a lot about it in other videos, and that is making sure that, if you're working in a team, like I said before, and you create a project board, number 3 for me will be to make sure that you create stories, you create tasks that are very small, that they can complete in 1 day, in 2 days. Make sure that you're not giving them, stories that are so big that they can't complete in a couple of days. The reason for that is because if you don't keep things small enough, what's gonna happen is they might get overwhelmed. You might get overwhelmed because the project, or the story that they're working on is too big. And by making, by having them work on tasks that are small enough, it gives you an opportunity to not only to check that work, to make sure that is to what you expected, but it also gives you the opportunity to realize if things are gonna work or not. So a lot of times we're working on games and we have an idea in our head, but we really don't know how the game is gonna work until we actually play it. So a lot of times I try to make, if I'm gonna work on a mechanic and the mechanic is pretty large, or it's a simple mechanic, I try to do it as much as possible, whatever I'm doing, to make a minimal viable product, even on a feature level, because you don't know if something might actually work, or it might not fit into your game really well. So giving them, or working on small tasks, is going to give you the opportunity to iterate through those tasks and actually improve them if they need to be improved, or simply not even include it in your game. So that's actually number 3. Just make sure that you're keeping tasks as small as you can for yourself and then for your team. So that's basically what I wanted to cover today. If you guys have any questions about the 3 things that I just mentioned about working in teams, let me know through the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the video, and don't forget to share the video. Thank you, guys.